we're going to be on the Blargh Factory. We're going to be talking about writing as a hobby versus business. And then Amy's going to start off leading with author earnings. So that's all you.
That's all me. So for those of you who don't know, there is a fantastic website called Author Earnings, which is run by a very successful self-published ebook author. And it publishes every so often all these wonderful statistics that basically fly in the face of what authors get told, which is that ebook sales are declining and the world is horrible and don't ever self-publish or launch an ebook.
Which is a lie, by the way.
It is a total lie. The problem with those numbers is that it only takes numbers from publishers and from ISBNs. Now, if you self-publish on Amazon as an ebook or on any other platform, you don't need an ISBN. So it's discounting all of those sales. So what this study, and this is only applicable to ebook sales on Amazon, so it's still not a total view of the whole market. That's something that no one seems to be able to get. But within that category, here's some basic statistics that show how well ebook sales are actually growing at the moment and why it makes sense to self-publish as an author. So the big 5 publishers, which are the main traditional publishing houses and their subsidiaries, they make up 50% of book sales within the genre sales. So that's like not non-fiction, those other sort of things. Indie sales or self-published sales only make up 24%. So that's the number of books sold. Now, author revenue, the indies are making 47% of the money that's coming in. Big 5 are only making 32%. Several reasons for that. Partially, as a self-published author, we get more money because there's no middleman to pay. But also some publishing houses, they're overpricing ebooks. They're not pushing their ebooks or advertising them. So there's a few different factors in play there. There are close to double the number of indie authors in every price bracket from $10,000 to $250,000. So that's annual income for an individual author. So for every one traditionally published author making $10,000 a year, there's 2 indie authors making the same amount of money. So look, guys, the industry is strong.
I was going to say, the second we figure out how to get you into the $250,000 bracket, we will let you know. Seriously. We all want to make it into that bracket.
Absolutely will. We do. So there are lots of other studies on this website and different other websites as well. There's a couple linked in the show notes, so make sure you go onto theblarghfactory.com and click through to these links because there is so much information there. At the moment, romance, mystery, and thriller seem to be the places to be because they're going up. Fantasy sales are going down. I think that's a cyclical thing, and I do think it's going to pick back up because, fantasy is it's an amazing genre and there's always going to be readers. But you can have a look there as well and sort of see how your niche genres are going.
I was going to ping in and say in between all that, those 3, like you said, romance, mystery, and thriller are the biggest, but it seems like the ones that have the best chance to do well from my experience are ones that sort of combine that. So you have like the urban fantasy romances or the urban fantasy thrillers, urban fantasy mysteries. Yeah. So things like Dresden Files or Twilight, which came out and that blew up. Like anything with the monster paranormal, but then you mix it with that. So those vampire love stories. As an indie, I'm seeing so many of those coming out every day. And the thing is, they do well. You're not guaranteed to blow up with one, but yeah. I know a couple people who are writing that, even ghostwriting, and the authors of those are doing okay. They're making, on average, a little bit more and more consecutive sales than people focusing on just fantasy or sci-fi because those genres are so big. And right now, like you said, they're not declining, but other genres have taken over like the top most marketable right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And managing to tap into a few different markets like that is really going to improve your readership base because you're writing for a wider group of people.
That's true.
Okay. So
go ahead. You had something to say about pretty much business models and how to push along whatever you were writing. Since you have all the facts and figures, I have nothing.
Yeah, so basically there's a few things that are I guess golden rules that are put out for writers to make a living income, particularly on fiction. These ones, some of them apply to non-fiction, but these aren't things that I've tried, and they're not things really that you've tried either, or some of them aren't. But these are the things that I know that I'm going to be doing over the course of this podcast to see if it works and to see which ones are paying off. So first of all is the series building. The number one rule is if you want to make a long-term sustainable living off fiction, you have to write a series. What do you think about that?
I think it's true to an extent, but then you also have some authors who have broken that, like Neil Gaiman, who's put out like one-off novels like Neverwhere, Stardust, American Gods, but every time he puts something out, it's just he wins an award. It's an instant bestseller. On the other hand, you have pretty much the king of urban fantasy right now, which is Jim Butcher, who's blown up with he had the Dresden Files take off, and the second he made his career was book 5 came out, and then the start of another series, Codex of Alera. That was literally the moment when his publisher said he was able to like make a sustainable living, quit his daytime job, and become a full-time author. So it definitely seems like series is the way, because you don't have one book to be reliant on. You have someone comes in and they want to see where it goes. You're almost like dragging out the whole resolution. Each book can stand as its own, but if they want to find out the overall story, they kind of have to stick around. It's just there's that danger of falling into the trap.
That's it. I mean, it makes sense to me.
I'm just worried about the whole
when you should
jump
stop.
When should you stop? Because the whole point of a story, regardless of whether it's one or a series, is there has to be an end. And some authors don't seem to know when that is. Although, I mean, I could totally be one of those. I don't know. Or it's possible that I might drag the Grave Report out for 40 books.
You might do, but at the moment it seems like that's what people want. I think for me, mathematically, it makes sense. If you have 3 books out in a series, that's 3 times the exposure, and if people like book 1, they're going to go back and buy books 2 and 3. I think that, I mean, you wrap up a series. A series needs to have an end. Sometimes the end is as special as the beginning. And I think it's perfectly okay to write standalone books in the middle when you finish onto another series. But I think starting out, planning a series arc with self-contained stories, I do think that's important, because if I buy a book and I get to the end and then find out it's really only a third of the book and that's not what I was expecting, I am never going to buy from that author again. But standalone series like the Dresden Files, where you get a really rocking story and you're like, hey, I really want to spend time with these characters again, that's what draws you in. And that, I think, is what's going to set you up long term. And I think once people get into a series, they're more likely to buy your standalone books as well.
Exactly, and there's actually a great indie author who's done this. His name is Glenn Bullion, and what he does is he's written a lot of standalone novels in kind of a shared universe he created. So if you think most popular right now is the Marvel movies, people are aware that you have the Iron Man movies, you have Thor, they're their own series, but they're happening in the same world. That's what Glenn Bullion's done. So he's kind of he has his main characters. He follows some of them maybe for 2 or 3 books. The next book is somebody else, but they're all operating within the same universe. They may not cross paths all the time. Sometimes they do, but that's more interesting because not everyone's always going to be a fan of your main character. So for me with Vincent Graves, not everyone might like him, but I'm technically in the process of doing the same thing, creating a larger universe. So I might have another series where somebody might get into, hey, I like this one more, but everything's familiar. I don't have to start from scratch and world build everything over. I might flesh new parts of the world out. But for like new readers and familiar readers, they won't have to start all over. It'll be at least something similar to what I've written.
And it's I think that builds the loyalty.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, it's not just about building series. You're using the series as a tool to build yourself. You want them following you, not just for the series, but for everything you hopefully come out for. Again, back to Jim Butcher with right now, what was it? Crap. Embarrassing moment. The steampunk series he just came out with. The Aeronauts Windlass. Cinder Spires. There we go.
Yes.
I can't remember I remembered that name. The title name is longer than the steampunk name and harder.
Have you read it? Have you read it yet?
I have not, because it's actually sold out at my Barnes & Noble, believe it or not, like hardcover.
Oh no, I have it, and I haven't read it. I'm saving that until the end of November, so I'm going to take a bit of a break. in December. So yes, I'm doing NaNoWriMo this year. I plan to knock out hopefully most of the first draft of book 2 of my series. Book 1 is pretty much as far as I can take it at the moment. So that's being shipped out to beta readers for the month of November. And then I'll get back to work on tweaking it, sending it out for edits and stuff in December, and hopefully launch that in January.
I presume I'm on the beta reading list.
I was taking the wavering. You can't get out of it. There's no way. If I have to chain you down and force read the book to you. So that's going to be super exciting. Excellent. And are you, Nelly, ready for beta readers as well? I think on book 2? Is it book 2?
Yes, book 2. Grave Measures. I'm literally applying the edits right now for my editor. It's going to go back to her for a quick just scan through, make sure if there's something that if she was really adamant about, like, hey, you need to change this, you didn't do it, or you did it, great job. Then it's going to go out to beta readers who will pretty much go through it for last minute, fix this, or hey, what's going on here, questions, because I think that's an important topic, like how to beta read properly, but we're going to save that for another time. But pretty much,
we so need to do that.
Yeah. But pretty much, yeah, it's going to get there. I'm hoping for a February to March launch because there was a huge gap between book 1 and 2 with personal life. But it might work out. And like what you said with series building, 2016 might see me coming out with 3 novels in 1 year, all within the same universe of novels and the world. So we'll find out next year, definitely, if this series building works. But
and going back to treating your writing as a business, like, how important is it to get a good editor and to be willing to invest in your editing, your cover art, beta readers, not just writing this book and going, yeah, that's fantastic, and chucking it out there for the world to read?
You can, alpha readers, because here's a little known fact. I'm treating this as a business. Brandon Sanderson, and I don't know about other authors, but I want to assume some do it, has alpha readers. Like, I think Jim Butcher does too, because I've heard him say things that imply he might. And alpha readers are pretty much, as you're writing the novel, you're literally sending them the chapter. So I finished chapter 1. You guys get it while I'm working on chapter 2. Let me know, like, before I build this book out, like, hey, did I write something to start this novel off that doesn't make sense with everything else I built in this world? I might overlook something, totally twist my own facts.
Yep.
I might get a lot of crap for saying this, but it's stuff that can prevent a lot of mistakes. One being in Game of Thrones. I'm already scared. Plus with the banners, I might get executed. Wrong banner to have behind me, Lannister, right now. But there have been some issues where in the story he's changed, like, I think it was Jaime Lannister's horse changed sex between the books. Renly Baratheon's eyes have been mentioned as different colors to the books, blue, green. And I think he finally got to the point where he gave up and was like, you know what, they're blue-green, and it depends on whatever clothes he's wearing. It looks more blue or green, depending on that. Now it's pretty much like, screw it. And I think if you can get to that point where you have people who are eager and they know what to look for, alpha readers can be really helpful because they'll save you a lot of time in going back and having to axe chapters and revise entire pieces. Have even one person that you trust who's a fan of your series go through it chapter by chapter as you write it and let you know. It's just going to save you trouble. And if you want to treat this as a business, well, that's something that can help.
Yeah, I think a lot of people look at it and without that sort of business head on, they're like, oh, that's going to take so much time back. It's going to hold me up. I think authors have a lot of ego as well. We're so terrified of people reading our work and not liking it, but at the same time, there's this, well, you can't tell me what to do. That's my book. Don't you give me that advice. Which is why I think it is important to have not only beta readers and editors, but good ones that say, hey, this legitimately isn't working and this is why, not you need to change this part to this thing here that I personally would write. And that's a bit of a juggling act and it can be hard to find a balance. But you need to invest your time and sometimes quite a bit of money to find that right person for you.
Yeah, I mean, some things you can get away without having to spend a lot of money. If you can, it's not advised to go the cheap route first. I'm not gonna lie, there are always deals you can work out. They're not popular. Don't go around always asking for, hey, can you do pro bono work for exposure? It's kind of insulting, but at the same time, if your approach,
that's not good.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I mean, Will Wheaton just actually published a tweet about it where the Huffington Post contacted him saying, "Hey, can you
Yeah.
can we repost your thing? Yeah, you must have heard about it. Can we reuse your post in our column?" And he asked, "How much does it pay?" He obviously doesn't need the money, but they said nothing. It's just for exposure. And this is a $50 million company. Like, they could afford to pay. It's just one of those things where if you're trying to make it as an author and you're going to be making money, the other people deserve it too. Now, I'm very fortunate in that I have really good deals that benefit me, but that's more out of kindness, and I just happen to meet literally the right people. Which, of course, if that happens, that's up to your discretion. Do what you can. I'm blessed with an amazing editor who's gotten rave reviews and a fantastic cover artist.
Yeah, but at the same time, you get there's kind of a trade-off with that, because I know that sometimes you might get it for a bit cheaper, might take a little bit longer. As long as the person that you're using works well with you and produces quality work, it doesn't really matter what you're paying, but you have to invest at the very limb into finding that person and not settling for someone who isn't giving you what you need. I mean, a book is a business transaction. If you want to write as a hobby, if you want to write for the art and whatever, and you want to put it out just the way you want to put it out, that's great. Do that. Don't pretend that you say, give me money for this. That becomes a business transaction, and you need to make sure the person on the other end of that transaction is getting quality, that they're getting a work that isn't full of plot holes, that isn't full of grammatical mistakes, typing errors, bad formatting, because it's like going to a cafe and ordering a coffee and someone going, well, we only made it half strength and we use, because it's art. It's not art, just give me my damn coffee. And that's, I think, really important to bear in mind. Now, with all of that in mind, I have created an author business plan. Now, you can download, I'm looking at the link now, you can download that at Gumroad. So you can either jump onto gumroad.com and just look up the Blargh Factory and you should be able to find it. The direct link is gum.co, so gum.co/TBF business. So you can jump on and download that. Now, Gumroad is... Yeah, that will definitely be in the show notes. You can download it for free, absolutely. There is a little box that pops up and asks how much you would like to pay. That's a donation thing, so you certainly don't have to put any money in there. Future downloads, if people do start donating, it's just going to help us keep going. Obviously, this is costing us a little bit of time and money. I'd like to so certainly any donations are much appreciated, but certainly not necessary, because we both know what it's like to be a starving artist. Yep.
And then the other thing Amy was going to talk about, which is sort of mentioned also in the business plan and through here, is things about like how to track attention and pretty much like how your social media presence and advertising and sales origins and things like that, and how to find people to distribute your work, which I'm going to leave to you since, again, you have all the figures and you're the professional at this.
Yes, absolutely.
The dude who writes.
Okay. So look, it's all doing research, doing some short courses if you need to. I've learned a lot from my nonfiction book that I published, and it's stuff that others don't talk about. So things like tracking clicks. If you sign up for an Amazon affiliate account, you can get a lot of different very specific links that lead to your book. Now, you not only get an extra kickback from Amazon because they pay their affiliates for each sale that goes through that link, but it'll say, well, this sale came from the link that you put on guest posts. This sale came from the link that you had on your website. So you can break down what's working and where. So if you run, for example, a Facebook ad, you might pay $50 over the course of a week. You might get 2 sales. You know, okay, you need to tweak something for that to work better next time. You might get sales. But if your sales are kind of okay, and they might sort of go up a bit and down a bit, and you don't know where they're coming from, then you don't know. You could be wasting a lot of time on something that's not working, or you could be working harder at something that really is working, but you just don't know. So it's really important to, like I said, treat it as a business, where the sales are coming from, break down costs, break down your return on investment, and start learning some business terms. Social advertising is something that I think is worth investing on, but we can talk about that certainly at a later date, because that's a rabbit hole in itself, and we could do a whole month's worth of episodes on that.
One thing I noticed,
I think when
Well, I was gonna say one thing I noticed that really helps is either for ebooks and or your print, get in touch with bookstores and not just local ones that carry indies. If you have an ebook out and you've distributed it through things like Smashwords and other e-distributors, it will be on places like Barnes and Noble and things like that. And they still mention their ebook collections in their stores if you walk in. Like I've gone in and I've seen banners for like most popular downloaded ebooks at the moment for their site. Go in and tell them like, hey, I'm a local author and this is my ebook, and you can actually give employees free copies. That's one thing I've seen actually that's recommended by professional authors. Like when you're starting out, go to a Barnes & Noble, like a big chain store, and give some of them a copy of your book. Because the one thing you want is people in populated areas talking about it. Because at the end of the day, word of mouth is still the best. So if you can get your the employees on your side, they might carry your book. They might at least have like a spotlight for it, because Barnes & Noble has that. They'll have aisles where, hey, this is our favorite book by the employees. And I've gone in and literally seen customers look at that and just go grab it because they've been going to that place for such a long time. So get in touch with the people who are actually distributing your book. Like you can start from the bottom and it's great, but it's also try at least doing something at the top end, just because you never know who's going to say yes or offer you a hand, and it helps. They're in a position of power.
Try everything. So that's where a business plan really sort of comes in handy. So the one that I've got, it's quite long. But it's pretty involved. So I really think that if you're sort of starting out a series, even if you've started and you've got a bit of an income coming in from your books, it's still worth doing. And it basically works out how to, it teaches you how to work out what your goals are, what you need to attain those goals. So how many books over how many months, over how many years, and how many sales you need to reach those financial goals. It's got some information, a lot. It prompts you to also incorporate your costs, the costs of running your business, because there are legitimate costs. You need not just cover art and editors, you also may need accountants, you may need a solicitor if you don't have an agent and you perhaps want to sign a deal with someone, business advisors, marketing advisors, writing courses, convention costs, so many different things. It shows you how to niche down your target audience to make sure that you're promoting to the right people. I was in a writing group the other day and a lady had written a book, wasn't getting any sales. Where have you promoted it? And it was all these sort of blogs and websites that targeted very young people and very technologically savvy people, but her target audience looking at her book would have been a much older demographic that maybe weren't using the computers as much, certainly weren't in, Facebook groups and following blogs, but were more likely to be listening to, their local community radio station. So that can certainly help you to drill down where your advertising and your focus needs to be. There's information in the business plan on lots of other things as well, drumming up readers, maintaining those readers, personal development, goal metrics, that kind of thing as well. So please jump on it and download it. As I said, it is free, and I really, really think that it's worth your time to really fine-tune what your goals are and how you're going to get there, and keep you on track, keep you targeted.
Yeah, and for the record, I do not have a business plan because, as you're seeing here, I am very bad at marketing, which is why we've done this team up. I have no idea. I just write. I try to write a lot and get it out there and hope for the best. It's all I can do.
I think Ronnie's plan for the next 2 weeks is to fill out the business plan.
I don't know if you can see it, but you have a ninja.
Yes, I do. I have a ninja behind me.
Ninjas always help every plan.
And I think finding time to write with kids in the house is probably going to be a future episode.
Yeah. Something that she has the complete, I guess, pleasure of dealing with. I'm very fortunate in that I don't have to deal with that.
Yes.
One less stress.
Excellent. I think our time's nearly up anyway, so we should probably wrap it up. Don't forget, guys, it's theblarghfactory.com for all of our show notes, all of our links. The download was at gum.co/tbfbusiness. And Ronnie, your website is
pretty much my name.
r30.com, isn't it?
And yeah, it's just, and it'll be down on the bottom.
Super easy.
Also the YouTube show, because you can put that in the about section. So yeah, pretty much we're good to go.
It will be down there. Oh, and we're on iTunes now. So, you know, if you don't have time to sit and actually watch the video, you can subscribe to the podcast, which is on the website. You've got the links to that. And look us up on iTunes, guys. Support us on iTunes if you have an iDevice, even if you're not going to listen to it. It's free. It's all free. And if you download through iTunes, there is a chance we can get to the new and notables list. So please do that. Throw us some support. And leave some reviews wherever you are. Leave a comment on YouTube. Leave a review on iTunes. It's all really, really appreciated. And I hope everybody has a fantastic fortnight. And when we come back, I will be deep in the guts of NaNoWriMo, and Ronnie will be hopefully through editing. Do you think? Yeah. We're still plugging along?
Oh, no. My goal
free
is
of it.
Free of everything. I'm not doing nano. I'm going to edit, and I'm going to hopefully finish this third monster novel that I'm on, because it is huge, larger than I anticipated it to be. But that's good for everybody reading it, because it will keep them busy for 2 days instead of 1. Because most of stick with the book for a while. Give me time, please.
Don't count on it. I just I finally finished book 1 this week to read a book, and I finished it in 1 day, and it was 800 pages, and I spent the next 2 days with a massive reading hangover. Don't do that, people. Don't read 800 pages in a day. It's so bad for you.
And that's pretty much the closing advice.
Anyway, I hope everybody has read slowly. And I hope everybody has a fantastic day.
See you.